YouTube, what's the deal? It's your girl Jahira, and I am back. Hey y'all, you're gonna have to forgive the lighting in this video. It's one of those obscene hours of the morning where every cell in my body tells me I should be in bed, and yet I'm up. I wanted to come in and I wanted to talk to y'all. And it's one of those subjects that I don't really broach a great deal of the time. I've had a number of you send me messages and hit me up on the One Love Lounge asking me to make a video regarding my thoughts and my viewpoint on the Jenna Talakova situation. For those of you who may be unaware, Jenna Talakova is the Canadian contestant or hopeful future Miss Universe Canada who was disqualified on the basis of the fact that she is a woman of trans experience and then was reinstated by Donald Trump himself. And the story has been unfolding, and the reason why I haven't commented on this is because, once again, there are people far more knowledgeable than I am who have commented on it, and simply because I didn't really know what to make of this situation. I am a staunch advocate and supporter of women's spaces being opened to include women of trans experience, but I am not somebody who's really a proponent of the pageantry system. I'm not, and Miss Universe, for better or worse, doesn't even have a talent portion, so it seems very superficial to me. With that being said, I would never take away anybody's right to compete if they felt so inclined. But it's just not my deal. And I kind of wanted to wait and see how the situation played out before I took any firm stance one way or the other. But I ended up just getting done watching an interview, the first interview that Jenna ever gave, along with her mother, to Barbara Walters for 2020. And I was, I've kind of got a mixed bag of emotions regarding this interview. Jenna, for her part, strikes me as a very astute, intelligent, articulate, demure young woman who has been thrust into the spotlight and accepted the mantle of now being a banner carrier for the trans community. And I respect that, and I appreciate that. Barbara Walters, on the other hand, disturbed me. For lack of a better way to put it, disturbed me and reinforced for me some of the reasons why I fear my own success. The very first question that Barbara asked of Jenna was something to the effect of, "You were born a boy. What was the name given to you at birth?" I know that some of you may find this nitpicky, but I personally take issue with the term "you were born a boy." I was not born a boy. I was born an infant. That's what I was. And I was assigned the sex of male at birth. As I've stated before, and I'm just speaking for myself here, the trans community really does run the gamut between the gender binary. I happen to be a female-identified woman of trans experience. But as I have stated before, I've never known what it was to think like a boy or act like a boy or talk like a boy or gesture like a boy or participate in activities that correlate to the male sex. So it is difficult for me to hear the term "you were born a boy." And I've spoken about this in another video, to ask somebody what their name was prior to what you see before you today is highly invasive. Now, I understand, for the sake of, journalistic integrity, perhaps it was a question that Ms. Walters felt that she had to ask. And I'm going to include the link to the video below. Make no mistake about it. You can visibly see Jenna struggle with answering this question because, again, it is highly invasive. It really is like saying, tell me about yourself at your absolute worst. Tell me about yourself at your most miserable, at your most depressed, at your ugliest, at your most suicidal. Elaborate on that period of your life for me, for my benefit, for the purpose of my show. It's a difficult thing. Jenna, in a very genteel manner, in a very classy manner, answered that the name she was given at birth was Walter. Barbara Walters, wow, there's the connection. Barbara Walters mentions the name Walter in regards to Jenna 5 times within the first 5 minutes of an 11+ minute interview. And again, the issue that I take with this is that what you are doing, subconsciously or otherwise, is reinforcing the idea that mainstream society holds that this is somebody who was one way and became another way, who was one thing and became something else. And I can't speak, nor will I speak, for Jenna Talakova. All I can give you is my own reality, which is, and for those of you who didn't know that I was not born anatomically female, yeah. What I can tell you is this. I did not become a woman when my hair grew out. I did not become a woman when my nails grew. I did not become a woman when my breasts started developing. I did not become a woman when I underwent genital surgery. I was a woman. Period. I was a woman. I was an ignorant woman. And I say ignorant because I lacked the knowledge that I had the right to declare myself as such. But there was never a time, ever a time, when I was not fully secure in my identification with the female sex. Ever. The transition, the physical transition is just that. It is purely physical. If you've done it for the right reasons, it is a purely physical, cosmetic, aesthetic transition. Now, with that being said, there are psychological benefits to that transition. There was something, and remains something immensely gratifying about looking in the mirror and seeing the physical, visual manifestation of what has always been my internal identity. Make no mistake about it. I mean, it helps. It helped. It helps. It alleviated depression. It alleviated confusion. It alleviated my misery and a host of psychological issues that I was dealing with. It truly was the cure for a disease, if you will. A mental disease of feeling that your own body is a prison. It absolutely is. But the essence of who I am has never changed. It has never changed. If you extract the misery and the downtrodden and the host of of melancholia that I encountered in my former incarnation or prior to my transition, the root of who I was, I can trace back to my earliest memory. Because I was still fascinated by the world around me. I still had a sense of humor. I still saw the best in people, even when they didn't always see the best in themselves. That has stayed with me through the duration of my life. But what Miss Walters succeeded in doing is reinforcing a freak show mentality. I don't want to sound harsh when I say this, but I really need to impress upon you the negative correlation that Miss Walters brought to that interview and stereotypes that once again she just reinforced. I don't find it necessary at all to have referred to Ms. Talakova in her, you know what I mean, by the name that she was assigned to at birth 5 times, again, within 5 minutes. I sat here and watched. I promise you. You'll see it for yourself when you click on the link. I don't see how that behooves any viewer. I certainly don't see how it behooves Ms. Talakova. And maybe there has to be a professional disconnect between a journalist and the subject of an interview. I guess I could appreciate that. But to refer to her as Walter, to ask, and this was the one that killed me, when describing Ms. Talakova's surgery, her what we call SRS, sex reassignment surgery, or as we say now, gender corrective surgery, Ms. Walters said, is it true that they invert the penis, let me just get this key phrase here, in order to form what appears to be a vagina? It doesn't appear to be a vagina, people, and please trust your girl. It is a vagina. If you want to call it a neo-vagina, you know, okay, fine. But it is, in fact, a vagina. You know what I mean? A person who ends up, you know, an amputee and gets fitted for a prosthesis doesn't get what appears to be a leg or an arm. It's a leg. It's an arm. It's a vagina. And granted, you know, I know that Ms. Walters' first interview that she ever gave was with Moses. Okay, great, fine. You're a woman of a certain generation. Maybe it's all new to you. Maybe it's beyond the scope of your comprehension. But a little sensitivity with regard to arguably some of the most marginalized people in society would not have been out of order. It just wouldn't have been. A real desire to understand the trans experience, which is not to say that Jenna is necessarily an expert on the issue, but at least she could have offered some perspective on it, would not have been out of order. So, all in all, I really do applaud Ms. Talakova for the way that she handled herself with such grace and such poise, and really far more than I could muster up, just knowing my own limitations. But it frustrated me. And once again, I have to think to myself, if the day should ever come, if it's so destined for my life, if God wills it, that I get to a place of being at the forefront of the media, am I going to have to sit down to somebody who wants to delve into the supposed boy that I was, refer to me by the name that was assigned to me, the name that was given to me when I was adopted, and really rehash those? Because, you know, I don't know about Jenna, I don't know about anybody else, but for Jahira, those were not pleasant fucking years. Please make no mistake about it. There were moments of latitude, moments of levity in a very dark childhood. And if you haven't walked this path, you cannot begin. I'm trying not to cry. You cannot begin to understand what it is like going through every minute of every day of your life screaming internally for somebody to identify what's wrong with you. And being forced to relive that scares me. It scares me. And it impedes me from desiring to ascend to the next level. Because I am afraid of the idea of having to atone for my history. And I don't know that this is something that I can answer. I applaud Jenna once again for the way that she handled herself. And I really hope that if Jenna does decide to compete in Miss Universe Canada, that she will do so knowing that she has an entire community standing beside her and behind her. She may be one person on that stage on that night, but she will have millions upon whose shoulders she's standing. So those are my thoughts, and I'm going to go now. I will be back very soon, and I love y'all. God bless you, and God bless you, Jenna. One love. Oy.